BookTube, welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. Today is one of the most important videos that I feel like I can make, and if you watch any of my videos, please watch this one. Today's video is about EDS awareness and books that you can read about EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. So for this video, it is book related because I am going to talk about books that you can read about EDS, and but I wanted to share a little bit more with you because of EDS awareness. It's EDS Awareness Month, and so the way that this video will go is I'm going to start out by telling you a little bit about what EDS is, telling you a little bit about how I experience EDS, telling you about a global study I'm participating in, about the EDS Society, which is the world-renowned, like, cutting-edge organization fighting for those of us with EDS. And then I will recommend some books for you. There's a really good Goodreads list that's been put together, and I'm going to link you to that Goodreads list of books in the description box. So let's get started. I am armed with coffee. I am armed with Kleenex, and I am armed with dog. And I needed these supports because I think this is going to be a difficult video for me, because I am kind of in the thick of some things with my own experience with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. So let's just get started here. Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome is a collection of different types of Ehlers-Danlos. Ehlers-Danlos is a connective tissue disorders. It basically means that the connective tissue in our bodies is faulty. Connective tissue is in everything. It's what holds us together. And our connective tissue is faulty. Our connective tissue, like if you think about a rubber band, when you pull a rubber band, it snaps right back. But with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, because our connective tissue is faulty, when you pull our rubber band, it just stays pulled. It doesn't snap back. So everything in our body is prone to dislocations, injuries, ruptures, you name it. For example, the cartilage in my ear is extremely flexible. Like, I can do this thing with my ear that nobody else I know can do. Like, I can just completely fold over and squish my ear. That's because my collagen is faulty. So that's just a general overview of the very basics of EDS. What this means is that every part of our body can experience issues because of this faulty genetic issue. So EDS is genetic. They're starting to be able to identify the specific genes that the different EDS types connect to, but the research is just really at the beginning stages. So there are different types of EDS. The least severe type is hypermobile EDS. Those with hypermobile EDS tend to just experience like hypermobile joints and maybe one or two other symptoms. And then it gets more serious from there, with the most life-threatening type being vascular EDS. Time out. So for me personally, I experience issues with my joints, my skin, my muscles, my vascular system, my autonomic nervous system, my digestive system, my immune system, my brain, my spine, and my brain stem are all affected as a result of my faulty collagen, my respiratory system as well. Basically every body system. The only body system I really haven't had a lot of issues, because the issues that I've had are vascular related to it is like my reproductive system. That's it. That's the only one intact, y'all. So everyone is different and everyone experiences EDS differently. Even within a single type of EDS, people experience different symptoms and different levels of severity of symptoms. And so we can't necessarily just put someone in a box. Like my experience with EDS isn't going to be Jane Doe's experience with EDS. There are different types, and I'm going to link you to the EDS Society. The EDS Society is the international global leading agency doing research and trying to help those of us who have Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. It's an amazing organization. Their website has so much information on EDS and the EDS types. And so I will link you to a page on their website that goes through all the different EDS types. So I'm kind of in the thick of an emotional experience with my EDS right now because I am participating in a global study on blood platelets with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. In 2013, I was diagnosed with hypermobile EDS, and then in 2017, all of the diagnostic criteria for the disorder changed, and they reclassified all the different EDS types. So I have been functioning under the assumption that I have EDS, hypermobile EDS, which is the less serious kind. And in being part of this study, I had my intake last night, so it's still very fresh. So I had my intake last night, and I was incorrect in thinking that I had the less serious form of EDS, and this should have been obvious to me because of that list that I read you: joints, muscles, skin, every system in my body affected, been to the hospital many times. Like, it should have been obvious to me that I don't just have the simple form, for lack of a better word. Having gone through the first intake, I likely have classic-like EDS or vascular EDS. So the reason behind thinking that I might have vascular EDS, and I'm sorry if my face is a mess with makeup or whatever, but the reasoning behind that is because I have so much bleeding involved in the way that I experience my collagen deficiency. My blood vessels rupture very easily. I don't know if you can see my eye right now. So this happened Sunday. My blood vessels will just randomly rupture with just the slightest amount of pressure. And I have really easy bruising. I have had situations where I have had to go to the emergency room because I was vomiting blood after being sick. I had GI bleed outs. And all of those are more symptomatic of vascular EDS. And the reason that it's so difficult for me to talk about that is because vascular EDS has a life expectancy of 50 years of age. And I'm 36. And that doesn't necessarily mean that once I hit 50 years old, it's lights out. Some people live to be 80. I mean, it varies with every person, and it's good to catch it early because you can take precautions. You can get the right treatment to be able to expand your life. Oh, I am sorry about this. It's still just very fresh because it was literally last night and I had this video planned out for today. So just being very vulnerable here with you today, I guess. So what I'm hoping, I do go into the university for this study to do blood draws and to have some other testing done on Monday, and I will know more at that point, and I may or may not share it with you. It's obviously very personal, but I am participating in that study. I feel very lucky to be able to participate in the study because the woman running the study, the woman spent almost 3 hours with me last night in a Zoom chat going through my diagnostic criteria and talking to me about what it means for me. And I'm so grateful for her spending that time with me, because had this been a regular doctor's appointment and not something set up as part of a global research study, I would have had half an hour with the doctor and then been sent out the door. But it was so really nice to be able to have that time with her. And I'm so grateful to be able to be a part of the study, because what the data that they can gather from my body will help others. One of the reasons that EDS awareness is so very important is because the disease is thought to be rare, but it's actually more just rarely diagnosed, and people with EDS are severely neglected and psychologically abused by the medical community. Every major researcher, every major doctor, every leading person in the field that I have spoken to, and I've been very fortunate to be able to speak to a lot of the people paving the way, geneticists and other doctors that yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to speak with them, but they've all said the same thing, and the researcher that I worked with last night said the same thing too, that we are one of the most neglected and mistreated groups of sufferers of chronic illness out there, that the very people that are supposed to be advocating for us, that are supposed to be helping us manage these life-threatening disorders, aren't. And that EDS awareness is so important because most doctors are very dismissive of EDS patients because we're so complex medically. They don't have the time for us. A lot of doctors just think we're making it up, and there's just not much known, not much research done, but those doing research are so passionate and adamant about it, spreading the word and raising awareness, because they see in their research how much we suffer, and they see that we are fighting for our lives every day. And that is why EDS awareness is so important, because it can literally save somebody's life. I do a lot of this work here in my state. I am an administrator for a statewide support group, and I get calls every week from people just desperate for help. Desperate to be connected to resources that just aren't there. So if you have EDS, it's really important to find a support group of fellow patients, because a lot of times we are all we have. If you don't have a local support group, reach out to me and join mine. I've got like 300 to 500 people in my support group that I help manage, and it's an open door. I mean, the group is meant for people in my state, but we have let in other people who just have absolutely no resources. So if you find yourself in that position and there's nothing in your state available to you, let me know. So with that, I'm going to stop the emotional roller coaster here. I hope that what I said comes out coherently and in some sort of organized fashion and isn't just like emotional porn for you. I hope that you can take away something from this video about Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome that you can share with others. One of the best ways to learn more about it, since you're all here on YouTube, is to go to Laura Bloom's YouTube page. So Laura Bloom is the executive director of the EDS Society, and she is absolutely amazing. I'm such a Laura Bloom fangirl. Laura and I have had like 2 interactions, so of course I'm like, we're best friends. But no, she really is amazing, an amazing advocate for EDS. She does a phenomenal job with the Ehlers-Danlos Society. She has a YouTube channel, and I will link you to her channel in the description box below. That being said, let's talk about some books that I can recommend. I gotta go grab my book. Alright, so one of the books that I have purchased that has been really helpful to me is this one. It is Living Life to the Fullest with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, a guide for a person living with EDS to achieve a better quality of life, by Kevin Muldowney, who is a physical therapist who specializes in working with people with EDS. So what this book does is it teaches you how to move your body in ways that are safe for it. It walks you through different exercises that you can do to slowly and safely build your strength over time in some of the major muscle group areas that will help prevent dislocations and injuries in the future. It starts very slow. I mean, if you are bedridden for a year, you could do this book because it starts out very easy, very simply, with exercises you can do from your bed, and then gradually moves up to more difficult exercises as you build strength. And he teaches you about your range of motion, what's safe for you, and it's been a very important book in my own journey. I haven't made it all the way through all of the exercises yet because I tend to get to a certain point and then I have some sort of injury or setback or something, and then I have to step it back again. But hopefully someday I will make it all the way through this book, through the final exercises, because this is basically like if you want to start doing normal person activities, like if you want to do a sport or regular weightlifting or just like regular physical activities that someone with a non-disabled body would do. It helps you to condition your muscles and your strength and teaches you about your range of motion so that you can take the first step into doing that. So it's like it's graduating you to a normal weightlifting routine, a normal cardio routine. So definitely recommend this book. Now there are some other books that I can recommend. I don't actually own, but I have a book buying budget for myself, and so in the month of May I am buying these books because these are by some really world-renowned EDS specialists. So I also share that I was very fortunate. The first time I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, it was by Pamela Trapayne. Pamela Trapayne and Brad Tinkle are the leading EDS researchers in the United States. All 2 of them. I was so blessed to be diagnosed by Pamela Trapayne. And it was a really interesting experience because she brought in all these interns, right? And she was telling all these interns, like, touch her skin, move her joints, look at her body, look at her, like, memorize what you're seeing in Jessica, because, like, you need to know these symptoms so that when you go out, you can be aware of it, yada, yada, yada. So it was like, it was an interesting experience being diagnosed by her because I was like a classroom for the interns, as well as like getting my formal diagnosis by this like leading researcher. And it was I'm so fortunate to have had that experience. Pamela Trapayne is in Florida now, and she used to be in my state at the university where I'm participating in this study on bleeding. She used to be at that university, but now she is in Florida. Another, as I said, the other key person here in the United States for EDS is Brad T. Tinkle, and he is based in Chicago. He has written some books, and these books that I'm going to list here are books specifically about Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome by some of the global leading researchers on Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. So the first is The Joint Hypermobility Handbook by Brad Tinkle. I don't own this book, but I'm going to be purchasing it. The second book is Bending Without Breaking, A Guide to Living with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. This is by Isabel Knight. Isabel Knight is a leading researcher, but she is in the UK. Issues and Management of Joint Hypermobility by Brad Tinkle. Working with the Chronic Complex Patient, A Multidisciplinary Approach to Managing EDS, also by Isabel Knight. And then there is a book called Zebras of Hope, A Guide to Living with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome by Ellen Kelleher that I'm also going to purchase. I don't know much about Ellen Kelleher, but the book itself looks really, really good. Brad Tinkle has also written some children's books about EDS that are absolutely darling. You should definitely check them out. There is Your Eyes and EDS by Diana Driscoll. Diana Driscoll is also a leading EDS researcher in the United States. I don't include her in the category of like Pamela Trapayne and Brad Tinkle because she is an ophthalmologist and she only focuses on eyes. So EDS in Your Eyes by Diana Driscoll is going to be the book to read if you want to learn about EDS in your eyes, which like I obviously need that. And I've had a few interactions with Dr. Driscoll on various social medias, and she's incredible. And then a book that I also will be purchasing in light of the past few days is Vascular EDS, The Journey Begins by MJ Smith. Okay, there are other EDS books out there, and I'm going to just share them for you in photo format here. In addition to those EDS related books, there are a couple books that I have read and can recommend just on chronic illness in general. So the first is called How to Be Sick, a Buddhist-inspired guide for the chronically ill by Tony Bernhard. So this book really gets into like the mental side of living with chronic illness and how to manage chronic illness, chronic fatigue, and chronic pain from a psychological and spiritual standpoint. And then the other one is called Life Disrupted, Getting Real About Chronic Illness in Your 20s and 30s by Lori Edwards. Lori Edwards has a respiratory condition that sounds really awful and I feel terrible for her, but she wrote this really good book that's highly relatable about, you know, being a young working adult and having to manage a chronic illness in a world that is not set up to help people manage chronic illness, specifically in the United States. So those are the books that I can recommend for Ehlers-Danlos Awareness Month. Please spread the word, even if it's just a social media post about it being EDS Awareness Month, and you literally could save a life by helping to raise awareness. I hope this video wasn't triggering for you. I'm not going to apologize for being emotional because we need to be okay with being emotional about heavy topics like this, and we need to be okay feeling safe talking about these things with each other and talking about chronic illness. So I'm not going to apologize for it. But I will say that I hope I didn't trigger you. And until next time, make sure to continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other.